Hi, Dimi. Thank you for joining us today. Today's a bit of a different one, an exciting one, because you are an accountant and a partner in an accounting firm. And there's a lot of chats about, am I an accountant? Which I'm not, I'm a lawyer. Do we do what accountants do? Which we don't. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and Bellmonts and how the world works together?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Olga. So my name's Dimmy. Work at an accounting firm, or now the partner at an accounting firm in Armidale. We've been here for 5.5 years. We never want to have that conversation with a client where they say, "Oh, I didn't know about this bill," or "I didn't know there was a due date coming up," or "You didn't tell me about this." We sort of overserve, and that's sort of our part of our service offering, that we're constantly communicating with our clients, whether it's follow-up emails, follow-up calls, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, depending on the type of client. But we're definitely trying to hold their hand
Yeah.
along their journey, and obviously, figuratively, we don't literally hold their
Yeah.
hands, but whatever floats everyone's
That would be a bit creepy
whatever
with
floats
something. I
everyone's
don't
boat.
want that.
That's okay. No, we don't want to cross that line. But no, it's essentially we want to be that support system for our clients, and there's a lot of things going on with the current environment, especially here in Victoria, and businesses are in some cases struggling given some of the changes that are going on, and we just want to make sure we can take care and give our clients that peace of mind that their advisory accounting, they're getting the best, most up-to-date information that they can to keep running their business. And basically we pride ourselves on being upfront and being very proactive with our clients, and sort of, yeah, that's what we are about.
Absolutely. And I think what comes with that, we work together a lot on a lot of different files. And as I said at the beginning, a lot of people say to us, well, can't my accountant do what you do? But we are super specialized. Our team of over 14 now spend all day, every day, dealing with the ATO, whether it's writing to the ATO, talking to the ATO. So we sort of see ourselves as an extension to you guys, like a bit of a specialist, and that's sort of how we come in.
Yeah, exactly right. So you have your lane, we have our lane. Essentially, a lot of the time they're coming probably distressed to you with a big tax debt, and with your team, your specialist, you guys get them onto that more comfortable payment plan that's not going to sort of drown their business. And a lot of the time, the businesses that you're dealing with, which we've worked alongside with you, they're not bad businesses, they're not bad people. There's just been potentially a one-off event, or something happened in their lives that has sort of given them this debt problem that they weren't aware of, or that they couldn't manage at the time. But with a bit of TLC, a lot of these clients can turn around, and a lot of these clients can flourish, which we see with some of the ones that we've worked alongside together. That essentially a lot of the time it's just been they need some straightening up on a couple of strategies, but really they're good clients that just with a bit of help that can continue to run their businesses.
Yeah, I think that's a super important point. I think sometimes there's a lot of embarrassment,
Mm.
or sometimes shame that goes around, oh, I've done something wrong if I have tax debt, or I feel bad about leaving my current accountant and moving to a new one. But one of the ones that we worked on, I think, is a really good example of this amazing business that grew. It grew super quickly. It was run by a husband and wife, and they were using a rural accountant in country Victoria. And I think it's a success story in a way. So they grew, they had this massive business. They felt bad because they had a local country accountant that was helping them and looking after them. And when they came to us, I think it's a really good example of specialists. So they were looking at borrowing some money, but they had outstanding tax debt, and so the lender didn't want to lend to them whilst they had the outstanding tax debt, which is where we came into play to get them into a payment plan. But then when we started talking to them, they said, "Oh, we need someone more hands-on. We need the business advisory, not just the quarterly lodgements." And then I think you can explain better. So we were able to get them into a 3-year payment plan, no upfront. And whilst we were working on the payment plan, they were able to get funding at the same time because the lender had comfort that we were going to get them into the payment plan. So they lent to them. And then the third arm for that was that you guys came on board and were able to provide a huge amount of my understanding of different strategic advice and structure and
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that particular client, like you said, they grew really quickly, and they won a couple
Yeah.
of big projects which took their business from number one to sort of exploded, and their payroll exploded,
Yeah, which is
which is
amazing,
which is a
right?
great
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah,
But obviously their payroll exploded, costs exploded, and given where they were coming from and sort of potentially the advice they were getting at the time, they probably weren't ready for that jump, and they weren't aware of what that jump was going to do to them in terms of cost they had to account for. They became a large withholder overnight, which meant weekly reporting to the ATO, which they weren't aware of. So there was a lot of these aspects that they just weren't communicated to. And like I said, when we were introduced to them, all they really needed, obviously, was to be explained what this step relates to, and how we navigate it. But again, they weren't getting any up to date, any reporting, any up to date advisory assistance, and we've sort of flipped their structure a little bit, and we've changed some things that was going on that was sort of causing them a couple of problems in terms of the debt in the business, and they're now flourishing in terms of their business. They're very profitable. They're seeing the light now at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, they've got this payment plan locked away with you, with which you guys organise, which is fantastic, and that sort of gives them that peace of mind. But really, they just needed that support. They didn't have that ongoing support from their accountants. They didn't have any advice. They essentially had to learn everything or understand everything themselves. A perfect example of someone like that who just needed some attention and some care.
yeah.
And
I think TLC is an awesome way to describe it. I think a lot of people that we see at the beginning, we talk about we help people sleep at night. So that's a perfect example of a client. They're lying awake. They don't know what money's coming in. They need a loan. They've got a huge tax debt. They haven't got any guidance in their business. Now, we fast forward 6 months. They're on a very comfortable payment plan. They've got funding from an external funder. They've now got management reports. They've now got advisors that are working alongside of them. That's sort of life-changing, business-changing for that sort of business. So it's a positive thing, not just, okay, sometimes when people have tax debt, the only advice they get is that they need to liquidate or they need to go bankrupt. So I think there's a place for that, but I don't think that's the only solution. Another example that was actually a very recent one is we got a call from someone that was very, very distressed. And they believed that they had a 1.5 million tax debt due to some structuring and due to some loans, which we could put them in a payment plan. They were about to remortgage their house. They were looking at potentially selling their house to stop the recovery action. Our team spoke to them. We sent them across to you guys. And the outcome with some structuring and how that debt is going to be dealt with has reduced the debt down to about 150,000, which is amazing.
yeah, well, exactly right. So a lot of the time, you're right. Clients don't know what they don't know, and if they're not getting the right
Yeah.
advice, it takes somebody like us to actually put that time in and be able to explain that and understand what's actually gone on here, and if there's a change in, if we can do something in terms of the structure or in terms of the way everything is scoped out, like you've said with this example, the debt has significantly 90% reduced to what they actually owe, which is ridiculous. So again, and it's that peace of mind that, like you talked about, the sleep at night factor. Even this client we're talking about, the rural one, they're much happier now that they know, okay, if I've got a question, I can go to Bellmonts. They'll answer my query. They'll get back to me promptly, or they'll pick up my phone call, and I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to sit there and stress myself and try and work out what the answer is supposed to be. And just being that support network for our clients is big, because at the end of the day, they've got bigger fish to fry in their business. They're trying to run a business and make sure they're growing their own brand. And this other stuff and the advisory, they need a lot of the time support around that. And they're not accountants. They're not a lot of the time equipped to understand exactly what's going on. So that's where we need to provide that knowledge and that breakdown for them so that they can feel comfortable with exactly what's running day to day.
And that's also, I suppose, how we interact with accountants as well a lot. I always talk about specialists, and sticking to your lane. So we help a lot of tradies as well that are brilliant at building houses or fences or concreting. I wouldn't know where to start at tiling. And sort of that's where you come in with that business advisory piece, because they're not brilliant at running their business. And then that's where we come in, because we deal with the tax debt all day, every day. You're trying to do the compliance and that sort of thing. So it's really using all of the right specialists, I suppose, to build the house in the end, really, if you're looking at that analogy.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's every business needs sort of a different type of niche support. So you guys take care of that and put them on that structured tax payment arrangement to make sure they're not going to go under, and if the business is salvageable, a lot of the times the businesses are salvageable, that you don't need to just liquidate like you said. If the client's got advisors like us, and they've got people like yourselves that are sort of navigating them on the right path, then they can feel comfortable
Yep.
doing what they have to do, stick to doing what they know, and everything else will sort of fall out from that.
We often get asked, I'm just going to throw this question at you. We often get asked, oh, but my accountant's worried you'll steal the client. So how would you respond to that if someone said, well, will tax assure steal your clients? What would your answer to that be as an accountant?
Well, first of all, because I know you're not an accountant, so you
Yes.
literally can't steal the clients. But no, it's not about stealing clients. At the end of the day, we're all here to service the clients to the best of our ability, and you're only going to service them with the skill set that you and your team have. When someone says something like that, yeah, they obviously don't understand what you guys probably do, number one, but it's not about that. It's about getting the best solution for the client, and if that's sticking to what you're doing and sticking to what we're doing, that's exactly what how we work well together, and why that relationship and that sort of cohabitation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And often I use the GP analogy, that the accountants are similar to a GP and we're like the specialists. So if you smash your knee, you don't want the GP cutting into your knee. But if your GP sends you to an amazing surgeon, and I'm sure you've seen this, your clients are forever grateful to you for the recommendation because someone's fixed it.
Well, absolutely, and we love that conversation with our clients when we know we've sent them off to somebody who has helped them, and someone is given them the right sort of solution. That's great for us, and that's where our relationship works really well, because we obviously trust each other. We know that we're going to get the service that our client's going to be happy with, and we want to make sure that we're giving the best possible people to our clients to do what we need to do. And like you said, the GP analogy is perfect. There's
Yeah.
going to be specialized areas where we're not qualified or able to help with, and it's the same thing if we're trying to get a client some financial planning advice. We're not qualified to give financial planning advice. We would refer that to somebody who could. So it's all about sticking to your sort of your niche, and that's exactly what we do.
We talk about sleeping at night or not sleeping at night. If people are watching this and have a whole heap of outstanding returns, sometimes it's really overwhelming. And we often also see it a lot in husband and wife teams. We've got another new matter at the moment that's just come in where the wife has done all the bookkeeping, got a bit behind, there hasn't been lodgements, there's debt. What's your recommendation, and what would you say to someone that's not sleeping, that's a bit embarrassed, that has no idea where to start at the moment if they've got outstanding lodgements and they don't feel that they've got an advisor that they can just pick up the phone and go, hey, can you help?
Yeah. So first of all, there's nothing obviously to be embarrassed about. These things can happen for multitude of reasons, but I would say to that particular client that they need someone to support them, and someone to sort of walk them through what needs to be done, and hold their hand figuratively. And again, that's where we want to make sure, and we pride ourselves on getting our clients through that sort of difficult state, because a lot of the time it can be overwhelming and can be very stressful, and there could be other things going on in someone's life that makes it difficult to get the business side of it up to date. So we're here to service clients and service businesses, and make sure that their business can continue to prosper without having to worry about and stress about lodgements or stress about debts. That's essentially what we want to do for them.
And often we find, and I'm sure you do too, with clients that are just stressed, whether it's in debt or whether they're behind in lodgements, once you start and once you make that first step, I talk about eating the frog, doing the thing that you don't want to do. Once you've done that first bit, whether it's picking up the phone and talking to you guys about outstanding lodgements, or it's talking to us about debt, there's often solutions that they didn't know about, or what do they say? I think there's a saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. I think that's the saying. And when you've got a specialist to come in and help. So we really encourage people. There are so many solutions, exactly like the one we were talking about before, where they thought they had 1.5 mil and it might be down to 150. That is absolutely life changing. So I think if I have one tip out of our conversation, it's pick up the phone, make that first step, because between all of these different service providers, there are people there to help you and get back on track. Would you have any sort of one or two tips that you would like to share after our conversation today?
The first tip probably would be don't be afraid to ask a question. A lot of the time, clients are embarrassed when they don't know the answer and they try to find the solution themselves, and a lot of the times they can get it wrong, but they don't know what they don't know. And obviously we've been doing this for a long time and we've seen many different ways to do things, and obviously we've seen the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things, and we just want to impart our knowledge onto those clients and make sure that they're equipped to make the right decisions, because like you said, a lot of the time businesses are very salvageable. It's just one or two things that have gone wrong that has spiraled them to a certain point. So I'll say TLC again, but with TLC, a lot of clients can continue to run their businesses very, very successfully.
We also hear it's too hard to change accountants. Like, it's impossible. We can't get the right help because we can't change accountants, because how do we even do it? And the old accountant's got our file and they know everything, and what are we going to do? So it's that real stressful moment. What is your response, and where do people sit? Is it that hard to change an accountant?
Yeah, so there's some formal processes that obviously have to be done in terms of us getting access to the ATO, but there's never something that's too difficult to transition. The clients, a lot of the time, will have accounting files that we can get access to digitally, and we pick up the pieces from there. So it's definitely not something that should prohibit someone who wants to move and who needs to move. At the end of the day, if they're not getting the right service, they need to make that jump, and the sooner they can do that, the better. And whether there's some processes about transferring data and transferring files, that's something that shouldn't prohibit, and it's not the end of the world in terms of getting a new client on our file.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dimi, and I look forward to continuing working together.
Thank you.